Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here with us for this discussion on philosophy of life through jazz. Please welcome Mr. Wayne Shorter.
Hello.
Mr. Shorter, as you know, is a legend. He is somebody who Herbie Hancock calls a true genius. He is an artist, a composer, a visionary who the New York Times has called the greatest living improviser. He has won multiple Grammys, has played and composed for so many people, Art Blakey, Miles Davis, The Weather Report. His Wayne Shorter Quintet was named the greatest living band by The Guardian. It's an honor to have you with us today. Today we have the unique and rare opportunity to discuss with Mr. Shorter on the things that inspire his body of work. Philosophy, art, literature, science, science fiction, quantum physics, astrophysics. What is it that moves him, makes him create, gets his creative spirits going? Right? There's a lot ready. So to start with, perhaps we can start with literature. You are an avid reader. You love so many different kinds of work. What is it that inspires you the most?
In literature, one of the first books I read when I was 12 years old was a book called The Water Babies by Charles Kingsley. And I read this on the lunch break in grammar school. And when you finish reading it one day, a certain number of pages, you put the book back and wait until tomorrow, the next day. So I experienced wanting to see what happens next in this book. And it's the first time I read a book all the way through. Where I came from, the kids, the people in the neighborhood, they never talked about reading. They were all playing baseball, football, showing off for the girls after school, wrestling and boxing and all that. And there was a lot of called street corner philosophers. The older guys would stand on a street corner and have a talking contest in front of the girls, like putting each other down. And but I was captivated by this story, and then another book, and another book, and then the comic books, movies, fairy tales, science fiction. So the first book I read was like a fairy tale. Then I started to think about the reality that society, commercial society, tries to sell us. They say, be real. There's no such thing as living happily ever after. There's no such thing. But as I chose books that would have men, women, and children and animals in the story, I started to put the question, maybe the fairy tale is the reality. And this reality they're selling us is the fairy tale. And the impossible is very fascinating. I read these books because I'm always looking at what is the impossible, the things you're not supposed to do. They call it escapism or escaping. But then when you come to your senses, you have to be practical and pursue a profession that's practical, solid, money-making, reliable, but I was always thinking about flying, like human beings flying and galaxies, going to other places. I would dream. I dream I'm flying through a lot of colors, and in the dream, there's no frame, no end to. Actually, there's no frame here. We have the frame of our eyes. That's a frame. But in the dream, this was gone. It was like you see all around. And all of the, Victor Hugo. There's a book he wrote called The Man Who Laughs. The Man Who Laughs. It's not a fairy tale, but it's a story that's very different from Les Miserables. I'll just say one thing. There's a boy in the story who goes to a circus. The boy finds a little baby in the snow. And people in the circus find this boy and little baby. The little baby is a girl. The baby is raised in the circus to be a trapeze artist. The boy, they're trying to figure out what kind of tricks, what circus, profession. They broke his jaw so that he always laughs. And as he's young and he grows up, he still has this. I haven't finished reading it yet, but Victor Hugo, the Man Who Laughs. But Victor Hugo's still talking about the social life, political, but it's woven in a way that someone 15, 16, or maybe 13, 14 would read this and could not wait to turn the page. So, books, I read a lot of books written by women now. Science fiction books, fantasy books written by women, or husband and wife, partner. I used to read a lot of books written by men when I was growing up. But then, I would say, how does a man know about what a woman is thinking, feeling? And then playing music, the challenge in playing music is, for me, is to, play what I wish for, to play what you wish for. If you wish to play more and more excellent on your instrument, you want to play more music. Perfect your musical. But if you want to play eternity, what is eternity? If you want to play music that does not sound like music, Miles Davis used to ask me, he said, "Hey, Wayne, you ever feel like playing music that don't sound like music?" Then he would ask me, "Can you play anything you want to play?" So that meant to me, no practicing, no rehearsing, the question, how do you rehearse the unexpected? How do you rehearse the unknown? And all these books I've been reading, the stories, sometimes you can predict what's going to happen, but and every now and then I find a book that, this is the book. This is not a bestseller, but nobody's reading it because it's too good. It's too much information. I can see now, for me, I see the world is in a place, on a cliff. We're all on a cliff, a precipice, a cliff, where no one really knows what's going to happen tomorrow. People tell us, what's going to happen. The newspapers, they try to maybe influence how we think so they can predict what we're going to do tomorrow to make money on their predictions. But now, with the internet and all this social media stuff, and countries and cultures converging and ideas converging, interacting in ways that are unexpected, I think we are, as human beings, being forced to learn how to negotiate the unknown creatively. And a lot of us say, I am not creative. I don't sing, I don't dance, I'm an accountant. But I think the whole world, we have a singularity approaching us in life. Humanity is now beginning to see what it's like to negotiate without rehearsal, with no script. And that means people who follow, the masses of people who have been historically trained to be followers, have to begin to be leaders. As individuals, leaders, the following kind of makes you a subject to wanting to be someone else. You follow someone else's life, follow someone else's commands, rules, follow this fashion, follow someone else's whim, follow someone else's fame, fortune, and even in an ugly way, follow someone else's misery. Like shootings in high schools in the United States, Columbine, following that. That's a long way from being a leader. I guess some of the people who shoot, they think they're leaders. But this challenge we have of negotiating the unknown, the unexpected, is a challenge for us to call on and draw upon our inner life condition. For instance, I think like in school when some children, one child does terrible homework and the teacher says, one teacher says, why don't you use the brains that God gave you? The other teacher, another teacher would say to the same person, same little boy or girl, why don't you try to use your potential? We were at the Stanford University about 2 weeks ago, and the top scientists there, astrophysicists and all that, and they were showing us, we put the three-dimensional glasses on, a sample of what you call this accelerator. The one, it's a sister to the accelerator in Switzerland, CERN, Switzerland. They call it CRN, they call it. It was a celebration because there was, in CERN, they rotated this particles, and then they call it the God particle. The one split second after they called the Big Bang, a flash of light, 13.7 billion years ago. And they told us they're building a telescope in Chile, coming out in 2017, a telescope that's going to go deeper, deeper, deeper into space. And we were looking at what we call dark matter and the universe, the stars and galaxies moving, moving, and moving, and moving, and moving. And they were saying it's just like a cake. When the cake starts to expand, fruit in the cake, they really don't move because the universe is, and then we are from the stars. But these scientists are actually telling us that they invited us to be with them because they see that we are playing music in the same way they are exploring space. Because when we walked in the door, there was a blackboard with a lot of formulas, mathematics on this blackboard. And they said, don't pay attention to the blackboard. These are jokes. And they said they want to speak about astrophysics with words and speak in terms of shapes and forms and motion, using the word motion. And they came to see our concert, all of them. And some of them are working on going on expeditions on the Amazon in Peru and Brazil. My wife went on this expedition, along with Herbie Hancock's wife, and Esperanza went too. But it's about the Amazon and the river and mercury in the water and distilling for gold and all that stuff. But that's connected with this whole fascination of life. I also like the idea about no beginning and no end in life. To me, there's no such thing as a beginning and no such thing as an end. And the only thing, the closest word I can come to that expresses not beginning, but something more than beginning is potential, or to emerge out of, going into, to emerge. So now I use the phrase, instead of saying when someone is born, I say someone emerges. When I emerged in 1933, out of causality, into effect, and the effect becomes a cause, to come out of, to emerge out of. And the scientists at Stanford did say something about, which Stephen Hawking, Dr. Hawking, there is no such thing as nothing. Or when something is taken, something is given. The black holes, if you're able to visit a black hole and go into it, they say, you're going to be like destroyed and shifted somewhere and then stretched or something like that. But the question to me, like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I like Dr. Hawking's answer when he said, neither. It's simultaneous. Something is taken, something is given simultaneously. And I like the idea that, not an idea, I think it's a reality that when you do something, it's a cause. And so then the effect comes from a cause. But a lot of people think that I do something and it's, okay, I'll pay for it later. Do something bad, I'll pay for it later. But just to think that the effect is simultaneous within the cause, but the effect is delayed. But we can lessen, we call lessen karmic retribution. We can, when I say become leaders instead of followers, it's like being the producer, director, and actor of the film of your own life instead of someone else's life, or the Madison Avenue marketing machine's life, the salesman's life, the saleswoman's life, also, I think that many of us take the road in life. There's a road that's kind of easy access to fame and money and wealth or whatever. But the road, there's a trail less taken, less trodden, less walked upon. It takes courage to take that road. It takes courage to be alone on this yellow brick road or whatever. It takes courage to go into the unknown alone. But I think the more I find out about the eternity of life, that the eternity is guaranteed within itself. It's a guarantee, whether you want it or not, whether you believe it or not. It's a guarantee. The more I see that life is the ultimate adventure. So what is life? Life is the ultimate adventure. Meaning, to me, ultimate meaning more than the end, beyond the end. And it's a funny thing. It's good for us to wonder what we are, who we are. What is a human being? You know. And some people think we are human when we emerge, born. But I think that this eternal, ultimate eternal adventure of life allows us to become more and more and more human. And that's the ultimate adventure, which is full of surprises. Suicide doesn't even count. That's just another, I'll use this word, which is a no-no word, another beginning. I think the word beginning counts when we sometimes seem to fail at something in life, and you're going to give up. I failed at this marriage. I failed. But to me, the failure, like we say in Buddhism, honimyo, it's in the beginning, honimyo. And roadblocks and restrictions and resistance. I give up. You know, I failed. I'm going to give up, because the powers that be, the corporate bodies, the corporate companies, and everything, or laws and authority, they're too much. The restrictions are too powerful. I can't go through that wall. But the resistance, when we pull out our potential, full potential of beyond knowledge, which is wisdom, we find a way. Just like it takes resistance for an airplane to take off, it needs resistance. We find a way to make the resistance, the barriers, fertilizer. We make it petrol. We make it fuel. We turn poison into medicine. We find a way to do that creatively. And everyone finds different ways creatively. The one way is to throw a hand grenade, blast through the wall with a gun, knock somebody out of the way, make war. That's the same old way. That's the, to me, the terrible illusion. Death, tragedy, to me, is temporary. Death, to die, is temporary. I think we should pursue the constant. It's the constant, the temporary and the constant. Eternity is the constant. Some people think death is, it's an illusion about death being always. I see in something in life that something is given, something is taken, something is give and take. There's like pain, no pain. Pain, no pain. We have to learn a lot from the pain, because we don't want the pain, so we can learn without pain. We learn a whole lot from the pain so that we can, it's like the thing that makes the car move, the explosion, the pistons go, pain, no pain, pain, no pain, and the car moves. So on a large scale, macro, life and death is a velocity of motion that's carrying us through the eternal ballroom. We have to learn to dance in that ballroom. I'm getting like fairy tales now. Dance in the ballroom. So I'm continuing to read, let's see, Haruki Murakami. And I have something else I've been reading. Maybe I'll tell you about that later. It's about UFOs. No, this is written by someone who has done it, who's been there, who's been taken for a ride. Remember the movie Contact? You want to go for a ride? I have something from someone. And also there was, a lot of people in America don't know this, but in the Grand Canyon, there was one of the greatest light shows presented by the unidentified flying objects, the UFOs. They put on a great big light show, but it was not really talked about in the papers and even in the Grand Canyon around 1980 something or whatever. So I try to write music that does that music that speaks about what faith is. Like faith. A lot of people say, what? The meaning of faith is this. Faith. I like this one. I like this. It's like more than the meaning of the word faith. It's a faith is to fear nothing. That's an Everest to climb. Now there, yeah, okay. It's to have courage and be fearless. Easy to talk about, hard to do. I like hard to do. I'm going to stay on the hard to do trail. Adventures aboard the Golden Mean. And on my last record, Without a Net, there's a title called Unidentified Flying Objects. They are the notes. Each note is unidentified. Once you're identified, it's over. It's a statue. Once the music is identified, it becomes a statue. You stay there. Yourself, not the music. The music, a reflection of oneself. You can't tell one from the other if you just love music. Or Art Blakey, he used to say, you can't hide behind your instrument. You know, people play, music is my God. Meryl Streep, great actress. She was talking about what acting is, and someone jumped in before she could start, and the person said, well, when you're in front of a camera as an actress, you're always putting on a different face, a different mask, right? She said, no, I'm taking off. She doesn't want to hide. Take it off. So when we go on stage to play, I say we, meaning the group that I play with, we go, okay, get ready for train wrecks, put away all the Grammys and awards, and all that don't mean nothing. Get out there naked. There's no such thing as a mistake. There's no such thing as a coincidence. What are you going to do with the unexpected? Call Ghostbusters. What are you going to do? Yeah. What are you going to do on a date? And a guy and a girl, they go on a date. And the guy, the boy, the man, is thinking what he's going to say. He's thinking about what he's going to say while she is talking. Instead of the challenge of being in the moment. In the moment. When you're in the moment, a lot of times when you're in the moment, a few times when you're in the moment, say, that was a great date. Now we're married. But being in the moment, to me, every moment is a micro DNA of eternity. Because when you see us moving, my hand is actually moving like this. But it looks like it's doing like this. How about this? Almost every single the thought that every single substance, matter, everything, this and all that, nothing actually touches nothing else. Nothing actually rubs against anything else. So molecules and everything like that. There's space between it. How about that? And that goes on in eternally too, in infinite quantum I dare you stuff. Jazz means I dare you to create. If it doesn't sound like jazz, it doesn't mean it's not creating. There's a lot of country western music, a lot of music from Brazil, a lot of da-da-da-da-da music, rhythm and blues and everything like that. The little jazz, just like these flowers. The country western flower, pop flower, rock and roll flower, the ha-ha flower, here's the jazz flower, the little jazz bumblebee comes from the jazz flower. He goes around and touches all the other flowers and says, don't forget to create, don't forget to create, don't forget to create, don't forget to evolve, don't forget to move. Go ahead, advance, forward, go forward. Don't linger in the illusion of, don't be a victim to, handcuffed to an illusion of what you think life is. Don't be limited about your limited view of what life should be. You know, like when you have a big audience, a rock and roll audience in a stadium, it could be rock and roll, big and pop, whatever. And the people on stage, the performers say, put your hands on your head. Over your head. Put your hands over your head. And somebody else way down there say, yeah, put your hands over your head because this is a stick-up. Put your hands up. So we have to know what we're buying eternally. Because you can buy something and think it's really great, and you can do that. Since eternity exists, you can do that eternally, too. I mean, you can be wrong eternally and think you're right. Until you break through. But there's a lot of room for wrongdoings, a lot of time. I have a tape with Stephen Hawking talking. Stephen Hawking talking. And it's one of the questions he said, are there borders in the universe? Then he said something like, which universe? Are there borders between universes? Wormholes and all that stuff. He was just questioning, but he was talking about all the other people before him. I know some of you probably read, I'm paraphrasing what you read, and you think, it's not factual what he's saying. He's not speaking factual. Haru Takauchi, a friend of mine, lives in Tokyo. He's married to actress Matsuzaka, Keiko Matsuzaka. Yes. Haru, her husband, guitar. We recorded something together in L.A. at Nathan East, guitarist, at his place. And he called. Haru's friend used to accompany Dr. Stephen Hawking to Tokyo to do lectures. And he called to see if Stephen Hawking would open a record that we made together. We made this record. It's on Toshiba If you know, do you know about it? It's called Galactic Something. And Stephen Hawking opens the record. He says, there are at least 200 billion stars in our galaxy. There is no such thing as nothing. He opens the record. It's on Toshiba, so you can check it out. It's Haru Takeuchi. I think his last name, right? Also, there's a movie I've been looking for that his wife made called Ping Pong. Miss Matsuzaka. Is it Matsuzaka? Yeah. I'm trying to find the DVD to that. They live somewhere in Tokyo and everything right now. They have 2 children. And very... Haru used to go on scientific expeditions with Whitley Strieber, who wrote Communion, the book Communion, about the abductions. Also, he and Whitley Strieber went to the house in New York City where Nikola Tesla used to live. And in the basement, they found the electric coil where Tesla sat in the middle of an electric storm. And we said, you know, and he wanted me to go fly with him into the Aurora Borealis area. And then he got married to his wife, and they have children and all that. But it's nice when you have people in your life who can speak about space and science and everything, and you feel like you're speaking about your neighborhood. Because some people in the United States, when people talk about space exploration, they say, it has nothing to do with us because it's 3 trillion miles away from us, has nothing to do with my community. And there's a scientist who was speaking, and when a lady in the audience kind of said to him, that has nothing to do with NASA exploration, nothing to do with my neighborhood, he stopped, walked down to the audience, and stood by her, and he looked at her and he said, your shoes have some material that's in Rover, which is still on Mars. Rover, the little robot. And your eyeglasses probably have some material from Hubble or the advanced telescope, more advanced than Hubble, or something even more advanced. And as soon as we can get some things, there's so much stuff that's classified. If you can get it declassified, the education that we can have in 1 week makes the universe our neighborhood. And she said, I see. So I don't want to sit up here and sound like I'm talking all big and big. But why not? We have to do that. You have to cheer yourself. Say, I can do it. Yo. The next moment, beginning. That's the only time I use the word beginning. The beginning of making a movie, directing, producing, and starring, acting with friends, the movie of my life and theirs. You think you had enough of me?
We can go on and listen to you forever. I think what's incredible about your work is that your view, the concepts that inspire you, they're really integrated into the performances, to the way you play. Danilo Perez, he says this very often, and so does Esperanza. You're one of the rare composers that when you have a vision, you literally write it into the piece. That you will write a piece for the violinist or the bassist, and you want them to work really hard because that's the whole point of the piece. So you'll write a very, very complicated part for that instrument because you want them to not be lazy and to work very hard. So just to listen to all of these concepts that you're interested in, simultaneity, negotiating reality creatively, no rehearsal, all of that in your current work is something that you're expressing through your work.
Yes, and in order to actually take action, for me to take action and with all the things I've been talking about, I have to study. I have to study life, not like in the school, but study. Study is a behavior. To study creatively is another kind of creative study. Let's open that door. No, it's not a door, it's a wall. No, it's bigger. Let's go in there.
We can actually take one or two questions. If there's a question from the audience, yes, please.
Hi, it's great listening to you, Mr. Short. It's a great honor to hear you and see you after all these years. My name is Steve McClure. I'm a music writer based in Tokyo, and I wonder, since the title of this lecture is Philosophy of Life Through Jazz, what lessons or things about the philosophy of life through jazz you learned during your time with Miles Davis, who I know had a lot of influence on a lot of people and was a great teacher and mentor.
One of the best things I've experienced working with Miles is we never rehearsed. We never really talked about music. On the telephone, we just talked about stuff. We talked about life a little bit, talked about aches and pains, talked about operations and hip replacements and knee replacements, something like that. And Sonny Rollins, too. We talked with Sonny Rollins. Then when we finished talking, I realized that was the rehearsal. Or like Miles would say, he said, the way Humphrey Bogart walks, I wish I could play that. He said, or the way, check this out. Check out Humphrey Bogart walking. When he just walks, Humphrey Bogart walking, then check out Frank Sinatra when he's walking. He gets Bogart, and he does like this a little bit sometimes, like in New Jersey, like some wise guy thing, Like Benny Golson wrote the song Along Came Betty, writing about a woman, how she walked in the club, And I think the challenge is to actually get to know who you are and then interact with who you are, with everyone else, and you all become more than you are. Not less. You become more than you are. You're adding on to what you already are, but never throwing away anything. Nothing is actually thrown away. When somebody discards something, like a phrase, a musical phrase or anything like, or person, discard. But nothing is destroyed, because I think what is discarded is in the eternity of life. Whatever is discarded is in a place of a waiting area, like waiting to be served the right function, a function that supports the sentence that life wants to create. Life wants to create. Then you can take that word create and life wants to be more. It's more than a limited view of what we think life is, and we are that more. We trick ourselves. As Sonny Rollins said one time, someone asked Sonny, how did you play the bridge? You played the middle part of Love is a Many Splendid Thing, that song. And Sonny played, he tore it up, man. And some guy on the side said, Sonny, how did you play all that, those chords, how did you do it? And he said, kind of tricky, kind of tricky. There's a whole lot of drama and stuff in there instead of getting an answer. Kind of tricky, kind of tricky. Tricky. That was saying, make it untricky. It's for the guy, you make it untricky. It's tricky. But anyway.
Thank you, Wayne. It's we can listen to you forever. It's amazing. We unfortunately have to stop now. I think we can just take in everything that you've shared with us, and thank you so much for sharing your vision and your philosophy.
Okay, thank you for being who you are and who you're going to be, and I'll see you in the movies.